Hello, my name is Brian, and I'm going to teach a lesson on dominant chords and inversions. Now, this is going to be a continuation of my other videos on an intro to jazz ukulele with minor 7 and inversions. Today, we're going to talk about dominant chords. And when we talk about inversions, what I really mean is how do you play a dominant chord up and down the neck, okay? So let me give a quick example of this. I'm going to use a 12-bar blues. I'm gonna do it in the key of C, and you'll just listen to how these chords are moving up and down. Okay, here we go. Okay, so what I was doing there is I was actually only playing 3 chords, right? A 12-bar blues is it's a C7, an F7, and a G7. But what I did was, every once in a while I would play a C7 chord in a different place on the ukulele, right? And F7, likewise, you can play it there, you can play it there. So I'm gonna break that down. We're gonna go through how do you know where these chords are, where the shapes are. And on the ukulele, there are 4 shapes for playing inversions up and down the fretboard, okay? And you most likely know the 4 chords that indicate the shapes that are used up and down the fretboard, okay? So those 4 chords are C7, A7, G7, and F7, okay? Now keep in mind, these are, what I'm referring to now are the shapes of these chords, okay? And you'll see right now, I'm gonna put on put up a little graphic that shows all of the different inversions of a C7 chord, okay? We're gonna go through it, starting with the red chord. That's the shape that everyone knows, which is the open strings on C, G, and E with the index finger on the A. So let's move to the next one, which is we're going to take the A7 shape, okay? But use your middle finger on that first fret of the C string, and then you're going to use your index finger and you're going to start barring the chords, and the shape is going to be the same. It's just that you're playing it further up the fretboard, okay? Now, if you know music theory, you'll know that you can go from A7 to B7 to C7. If you don't know music theory, don't worry. I'm just going to guide you through it. Just know that we're going to maintain these shapes, and if you play the A7 shape on the 3rd fret, that's a C7, okay? So we have a C7 here, and we have a C7 here. You can even kind of hear how those chords, they sound the same. They just sort of feel like it's maybe the notes are being played in different orders, and that's exactly what an inversion is. You're playing the notes of a chord in a different arrangement, a different order. So let's move on to the next shape, which is this G7 shape, okay? That's a G7. Let's switch the fingering so that you're using a ring, middle, and pinky. And we're going to use that index finger, and we're just going to start using that on the G string so that we can start raising this up to the point where your index finger's on the 5th fret, okay? That means your middle finger's on the 6th and your ring and your pinky are on the 7th fret. That's a C7. Again, we're using the G7 shape, but we're playing it starting on the 5th fret. Okay? So now let's play, we got the C7 here, C7 here, and a C7 here. Okay? You can kind of see what we're doing, that we're playing the same chord, just stacking the notes differently. So the last shape is that F7 shape, right? I'm gonna just talk you through, we're gonna hold that shape and we're just gonna move it up a couple frets. That's G7, 2 more frets, A7, 2 more, it's B7, And stick with me here. If you move it up one more fret so that your index finger's on the 8th fret. Middle finger's on the 9th, and your ring and your pinky on the 10th fret, okay? That's a C7 using that F7 shape, okay? So let's go through all these chords now. We've got that red shape of a C7, the blue shape, the green shape, and the yellow shape, okay? So once you learn these chords, that's all you need to know so that you can play any dominant chord on the fretboard, okay? And I'm gonna further highlight this, but I'm gonna put up now a C7 chord diagram, and I'll put up an F7 and a G7, okay? Now you might see a lot of colors and shapes on the screen right now, but what I wanna highlight is that the relationship between these shapes never changes, okay? In other words, when you go from that red shape to the blue shape, or from the blue to the green, you're gonna move up the same number of frets, right? The only difference between the C7 shape and the F7 shape is where those different color shapes start, right? So that C7 red shape is on the open strings, whereas the F7, you can use that same shape, but you're starting the 5th fret, right? G7 is just on the 7th fret, right? And then if you now look at how to move from a red shape to a blue shape, right? Red shape. You see what's happening is like the relationship between these chords between these shapes is the same, and that's one way to look at it vertically, right? Is that everything is kind of laid out in a very similar fashion. Now, if you're playing a song, right, and we can go through the blues that I went through in the beginning, we can play these shapes and switch between the chords according to what is the closest kind of shape to where we are on the fretboard, right? So if I were to play C7 here, the closest F7 is the red F7 back to the green C7, right? So let me take you through this. I'm just gonna call out the chords and I'll call out the colors, and just play along, right? I'll take you through some inversions, okay? So we're gonna go like this. 1, 2. We're gonna play the red C7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the red C7. Now we're gonna play the blue C7. Okay, keep playing the blue C7. Now we're gonna play the yellow F7. Yellow F7. Blue C7. Okay, we're gonna play the yellow G7. Yellow F7. Blue C7. Okay? Let's talk about other ways that you can use inversions. The best way to kind of get your hands around this is to just take a song that you know, find a dominant chord, and substitute the shape that you're used to playing with one of the inversions, okay? Okay, let me give you an example. If you were playing like a Hawaiian vamp, right? You can play D7, G7, C a little bit higher up the neck. It would sound like this, right? So inversions allow you to play chords with a different sound to them, right? So you can go there, or and then, right? So I hope that was useful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be making more videos. So thanks for watching. See you around.